What is your initial assessment of Trump's 20-point Gaza peace plan? Of course, his warning to Hamas is pretty stern: accept the plan in 3 or 4 days or pay in hell. But looking at the larger picture and everything that this plan envisages, what is your reading, sir? Is this a plan that we can expect to bring an end to this 2 year long conflict?
Yes, Neha. I think the very nature of the plan which was presented by President Donald Trump, is, I would feel, is a high stake gamble. Which he's trying to aim at curtailing the protracted Israel-Hamas conflict. So I think at the moment I feel that it is focusing on short-term gains only, rather than any long-term solution to a larger Palestinian question. You know, uh, so um, uh, so first and foremost, of course, the immediate ceasefire and phased pullout of Israel and all those things which are there, hostage to prisoners exchange and disarmament of Hamas, which is a very sticky point which we can discuss separately. And then, of course, you also mentioned about development under technical technocratic Palestinian committee. All those things are there, but at the same time, there are lots of things which are which can be considered as gray areas where nothing is particularly defined. First and foremost is the Hamas. How does Hamas view it? Many of them are accusing that this is completely Israeli centric, with no inputs whatsoever, perhaps from the Palestinians, including those in the West Bank. So these are some of the challenges. While it offers, lots of promises, it could be a turning point for the region if it is accepted by all parties. But at the same time, one has to keep our fingers crossed, because there are too many political and security hurdles, and so the economic relief package which is offered may not necessarily offset all these ambiguities which are there, which I said, and historically, if you see also, there has been, all these plans like Oslo Accords and all had faced difficulties in implementation.
Well, implementation is really what is going to hold, the key to the success or failure of this plan. Let me take this to Jason Isaacson. Jason, how do you look at this plan? Yes, there are many who've welcomed it. And then there are the skeptics who say that this looks like an Israel-centric plan. Has it really taken into account the aspirations of the people of Gaza? First and foremost, one of the primary conditions in this plan is that Hamas has to agree to total disarmament. Realistically, do you really see that happening? We are yet to hear from Hamas about this plan. Secondly, as I asked at the start of my show, can any durable peace be achieved, in your view, without addressing the issue of Palestinian statehood, which this plan is completely ambivalent on, and Netanyahu is on record as having said yet again that it is simply not acceptable to them, to Israel?
Well, thank you for the questions, Neha, and thank you for including me in this conversation. There's a lot to unpack here. First of all, uh, you said in your opening that one of the questions is: does this just advance? Does it just serve Israel's agenda? It should be very clear to the world that the acceptance of this plan, the endorsement of this plan from the Arab and Muslim world, which has been pretty much universal, the welcoming of the plan by Prime Minister Modi, very significant yesterday, um, the European input into this plan as well. The world wants this plan to succeed. It isn't just Israel's agenda, it's the world's agenda. I want to make that very clear. Also, for goodness sakes, the pictures that I saw, the videos that were shown at the beginning of this segment, Neha, of Hamas fighters in full military regalia, um, preparing for war against Israel. This is a terrorist army that was embedded in a civilian population in Gaza that made war against Israel on October 7th, 2023, launched thousands of missiles and killed 1,200 Israelis and other foreigners who were in Israel, including India, and and captured 251 people. This is a terrorist army that is right alongside Israel. Of course, Israel is not going to allow the continuation of this terrorist threat posed to the people of Israel, and the world understands that. That is why it is, of course, necessary. We shouldn't even be debating the question of whether Hamas should be disarmed. No country would tolerate that kind of an army, terrorist army, on its borders. So, of course, it should be disarmed. We should get to a place where there is governance of Gaza for the benefit of the Gaza civilian population. That's what Israel has signed on for. That's what President Trump is trying to put in place with the support of the Arab and Muslim majority world, frankly, the support of the entire international community. Is it going to happen? Will Hamas listen to the call of all of their neighbors, all of their, including hosts in Turkey and Qatar and Egypt, and finally say, of course, we have lost this war and we're going to give up our weapons and we're going to release the remaining 48 hostages, living and dead? Let's hope that they do. Let's hope that they are recognize the fact that they have lost this war that they started. And then we can start rebuilding Gaza. And then we can move to the larger questions. There's no ambiguity about the direction that this plan wants to go. It wants to go in the direction of the self governance, the self determination of the Palestinian people. It's not. We're not ready for that at this point. We have to solve this issue in Gaza. We have to have a civilian governance in Gaza that's not aimed at terrorizing their neighbor Israel, and then we can move in the direction of meeting the political aspirations of the Palestinian people, including the possibility of statehood. Yes, you're right. Prime Minister Netanyahu, although at one point earlier in his career he did talk about a Palestinian state, is now on record as saying that there cannot be a Palestinian state. And that's where the Israeli public is right now. They're very suspicious. They're very wary of having a Palestinian state on their border, seeing what happened a couple of years ago. But can that change in time if there is a different political dynamic in Gaza, if it is no longer a threat, if the West Bank is no longer governed by a corrupt Palestinian Authority, but a reformed Palestinian Authority? Yes, I think it can change. I think the Israeli public will accept it. And I think you'll have Israeli leadership that will be able to move in the direction of Palestinian statehood with the support of the United States and clearly the international community. But we're not there yet, but that's the direction I'm hoping we'll go.
Well, you've certainly struck an optimistic note there. Things can change going forward, even as far as Israel's stand on Palestinian statehood is concerned. You're saying, well, anything could happen tomorrow. Maybe Netanyahu is going to be replaced by a more moderate Israeli leader. We don't know what tomorrow might bring. But, let me take this to Martin. Martin, of course, I'm not making the case that Hamas should remain armed. But we all recognize the ground reality that the success of this plan is contingent on its acceptance, first and foremost, by both Israel and Hamas. Realistically, going by the provisions of this 20-point peace plan, do you believe Hamas is likely to say yes? How hopeful are you that the Trump peace plan can finally deliver what every other international effort has failed to do in the last 2 years?
I think this plan is absolutely fair. It shows both interest for mainly the people. Like this war should end and the hostages need to go back to Israel. Palestinian people should stop suffering out of a war that was started by a terror organization called Hamas. But I need to be realistic. Hamas, the terror organization, this is the most corrupted organization in the Middle East. They're profiting out of this war. I mean, Hamas is taking a lot of budget from international community to found their leaders in abroad in Qatar. So it's not for their interest for this war to end. I think it will be a miracle if this terror organization accepts the peace plan. And in 72 hours, this war should be ended. But we need to be realistic. This terror organization is not interested in ending this war. And it's a pity. I think that Israelis and Palestinians need to live in peace. again, I think the main purpose for this plan is to stop people suffering, stop the suffering of Israeli hostages, stop the suffering of Palestinian civilians. And this humanitarian aspect is way more important to the question of a Palestinian state or not. Of course, in the future, it will be great if the Palestinians accept the existence of Israel and eventually they could live together in peace. But right now, the main purpose of this offer is to end the lives of innocent people being taken by a terrible war started by Hamas.